One of the things that I think gets in the way of so many people living the life they're meant to live, from reaching their potential, from achieving their dreams and their goals, is the perception of risk. Whenever you dive into something, when you go for something, whatever it may be, you're risking something. Something I like to compare it to. I always like my videos to be like real life right now in my life. But like for me, like right now, hope she doesn't watch this. But like whenever you start to like a girl, like or you like somebody, for example, whoever you like. But for me, like whenever I start to like somebody, it's cool at first. I'm like, dang, I actually have feelings for somebody. That's a cool thing to feel. But then the second thought is, dang, like now this person has control of like my heartbreaking. To a certain degree. Obviously, the more you like somebody, the more. But it's like, dang, now I'm vulnerable to being, really in my feelings, to really being, you know what I mean? And I've realized, wow, that sucks. Like the feeling of like, man, like because of something good, I may have to face something really bad. But it's always worth the risk, because it's through anything that has risk is where things are worth it. If there was no risk, then I really didn't like her. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's super important that with whatever we do and with whatever we want or where we see risk, we have to start seeing risk as not as a bad thing, but as knowing that there's value in that. If you weren't fearful, if you didn't feel like, dang, this is a risk, then it's not valuable enough to even go for. So that feeling of being afraid that it's risky, that it's, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I need to check if this is recorded. Okay, it's I do that a lot of my videos. I just be like, dang, I said something good. Let me see if I'm recording. But yeah, like we have to start realizing that risk isn't a bad thing. It's just a prerequisite for anything of value. Ooh, I got to write that down. Risk isn't a bad thing. It's just a I don't know if I can write this, spell this, prerequisite for anything of value. I need y'all to write that down. Of value. Because if it didn't have risk, then you wouldn't actually want it. Okay? Whether that's a job, whether that's a dream, whether that's a person. If it didn't have risk involved in going after it, then it wouldn't be of value. And so we have to start realizing whatever we want, whatever we dream for, there's going to be moments that we have fear, but without it, there's no value. And what we also have to realize is that everything is a risk. So yes, there's different levels of risk, but when you start really looking at the world, everything that you do is a risk. Every single thing that you do is a risk. I went outside for a walk today. Like I just went for a walk. It was like 6 in the morning. The sun had just came up and I went for a walk. Now, as simple as that sounds, something could have happened to me. But if we live our lives always thinking about the risk, we'll miss out on the value and the peace from doing whatever we want to do. And so I need you to realize while there's risk, okay, hope y'all wrote this down already, there's something else you have to realize. And I really want you to get this point. This point changed my life and changed the way I make decisions, allowed me to live a life beyond my wildest dreams. Once I realized this, the biggest risk is taking, I think y'all know where I'm going, no risk. That's the biggest risk. Because if you don't go after the girl you want, if you don't go after your dreams, you now have to deal with the risk of forever regretting not getting what you're wanting. Forever regret, like, man, what could have been? The worst question you can ever ask yourself is, what if in the past? If you ask yourself, what if, that is like the hardest thing to deal with, because you can't do anything about it. You didn't go up to her. You didn't say, hey, this is what I want. You didn't go after whatever it is. You have to deal with the rest of your life thinking, man, what if? Will my life be different? You have to deal with the present reality that isn't the reality you're meant to be living with. So the biggest risk is taking no risk. And when you realize this, you'll start to take more risk. And what I've realized is once you realize this, things start happening. Even if it isn't exactly what you wanted, just the boldness of going after it has all these like, like domino effects. Because just you living boldly, somebody's inspired by you. Somebody else wants to give you a chance for another opportunity that you didn't even know you wanted, even though you were going after this opportunity. But it showed you at least had that self-belief enough, or at least had the courage to do it. But the biggest risk is taking no risk, because there's a thing you have to deal with, and that's called regret. You never want to deal with that. So I need you with whatever you're dealing with in your life, whatever you want, you have to realize you doing nothing is actually an action as well. The doing nothing is an action. The decision not to do anything, the decision not to act is an act. And that act is risking you never knowing what you're made of. And so you have to realize that is the biggest risk, okay? Because there's no reward without risk, okay? And so if you want to get something, you're going to have to risk it. But I want to calm your nerves on the risk, though. Because a lot of times we think about the worst case scenario. Normal feeling for a human being. Now, what I think we should remember is also the best case scenario. Do you want to miss out on that? And what's crazy is the best case scenario isn't something you can even imagine. Is beyond your imagination. So you're missing out something way further. Like what I'm living right now, I travel the country speaking in schools all across the country. I've spoken in over 35 states. I have a really cool life. When I went about trying to become a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, I didn't think I'd be this far along in 2-3 years, but I'm here. That's the best case scenario. It is better than you can imagine. But something else I want to break down is even in the worst case scenario, it really isn't the worst case scenario. Okay. What do I have written down in my notes? I said, even if it goes wrong, you're probably about to boss up. Okay. Yeah. So even if it goes wrong, so let's say the worst case scenario. Okay. Let's use the girl example. So you like a girl, right? Like a girl. And let's say you take her on a date. Everything goes good. Now she's your girlfriend. All right, is your girlfriend, right? Yeah, she's your girlfriend. Now your feelings, now your heart is literally in her hands. Your heart in her hands. When you get to this point, she can literally ruin your life, right? She can ruin it. But the possibility of you finding your best friend, so this can go in two ways. Okay? This could be your wife, this is your wife, happily ever after. Happily ever after, right? That's one possibility. That's the best case. This is what we hoping for this, okay? This is what we hoping for. But let's go worst case scenario. Breaks your heart. Breaks your heart. This is what we were fearing. When we originally started to like her, we were like, man, but is it even worth it? Because she might break our heart, right? And while we may think this is the end of the line, this is the worst case scenario, but what we fail to realize is oftentimes in these, like, what is it called? When you reach the bottom, rock bottom, is when you boss the F up, bro. This is when you get really lonely. You start getting on your grind. You start figuring out who you are. Bro, you know how many times I've had my heart broken? You know what I mean? But every time I got my heart broken, I ended up having to be forced into a realm where I had to work on myself. I had to learn to love myself more. So in reality, liking the girl, trusting the girl, and falling in love with her just for her to break me up was just this weird process of me learning how to love myself. Or to build a business. You know what I'm saying? We talk about me with my speaking business, and like I have a full-time entrepreneurial business where I can do what I love to do. All that happened right after I got my heart broken. And this is just an example of one thing in my life. And even though I've liked a girl, had a girl become my girlfriend, and gave her my heart, and had my heart broken, I'm still down to do it all again. Why? Because this can happen, or I can do this again and boss up again. So either way, you grow, but doing nothing is the only way to never become. That's the only way, okay? But going about the process of risking things puts you on a path for whatever you're meant for. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's in your intuition, whatever you're feeling called to do is for a reason. Now, you may say, Jamar, I had this intuition. This is my girl. You don't know nothing, bro. It could be your turn. And so maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. But even if you're wrong, it's for a reason. You see what I'm saying? I think y'all get the point, though. Whatever is happening, whatever you go through for the risk, if you feel it in your heart, go for it because it's for a reason. It's not always because you're going to get that desired outcome, but it may be for a plan you didn't even know about. Like, I didn't even know I could do the life I'm living right now. But if it wasn't for this girl breaking my heart, I wouldn't have found out things about myself. I would have been forced into this stuff. And so we have to understand, there's one quote. This is my favorite quote I ever made. Don't judge the present when you don't understand the future. And basically what I'm saying here is you can't judge what's going on right now in your life. You can't judge the risk. You can't judge the intuition yet because you don't really know what it's preparing you for. So if you watch this video and you take the risk listening to me and then you end up getting your heart broken or you don't get what you want, you don't understand what it's preparing you for. So don't judge it. Be present, go through it, and then watch it evolve. There's so many things I used to say, why is this happening to me? I took this risk and then it didn't work out. I could feel life telling me this is what I was meant to do, but then this is what I have to deal with for going for it, but I didn't understand the future yet. Now I'm living life, wow, like I really get to do this. You can't judge the present when you don't understand the future. So I need you with whatever you're going for, whatever you feel, go for it because it's for a reason. I wouldn't be living this life. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I didn't have a bunch of messed up, quote unquote, things happen to me that actually turned out for the better. So what I always like to remind myself of, whenever I'm faced with risk, whenever I'm faced with maybe things not going my way, whenever I have intuition, I always like to say, or when things are going wrong, what if things are weirdly working in my favor? This is a quote I always have to remind myself of. I made this too. What if things are weirdly, keyword weirdly working in my favor? So when you take the risk and things start going blah, 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 what if it's weirdly working in my favor? So just like I told y'all, how you can have the hope, you put your trust in somebody else, your dreams, whatever it may be, it doesn't work out, worst case scenario, what if it's really working out in my favor? If you can remember that, I promise you, bro, everything that you want in your life, I can't promise that it'll come, but what you're meant for will. And that's what you have to realize. In life, we don't control, we don't know anything. But if we have intuition, if we feel something we want, we got to go for it because there's a reason. You're not going to know the reason. I'm not going to know the reason. But eventually life's going to evolve and things are going to happen and it's going to turn you into who you're meant to become. Now, it may take you going through a phase of being very lonely, very sad, very depressed, but it's in those moments, in those rock bottom stages that you become. But if you always shy away from the risk, you will risk never becoming who you're meant to become. So if y'all have any questions, drop it in the comments, like, comment, subscribe, watch other videos of me. I really enjoy breaking this down to y'all. I'll see y'all on the next video.